Hey everybody, Riot Mort, we're back from vacation. We did it. And what better way to start off than doing our post-mortem for patch 1025, the longest freaking patch we've ever had. Joining me today is actually one of our newer designers, Riot Kent, who's been joining the Balance team. So Kent, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Riot Kent. I am one of the new designers on the TFT team. I work really closely with Static and more mostly on live balance and gameplay stuff. So it's good to be here.
Sweet. All right, so yeah, as I mentioned, patch 1025, it seems like the meta generally turned out pretty good for how long a patch we had. It seems like a lot of things were good, but it also seemed like it was starting to get kind of solved there at the end. Certainly saw some high elo players not like certain champions. Does that match up with your view?
Yeah, pretty much. I think players have, because of how long the patch was, I think players have gotten a good grasp of what is really strong as an opener and also to like stabilize your mid game. And just we're starting to see the same things get repeated every game, and it's starting to get more stale. And that's kind of what indicates to us that like having the 2 week patch cadence is really healthy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, certainly we've seen certain champions, which I think we'll talk about. So, again, point of these videos is to go over the things we did in 10.25 and see if we agree with them or disagree with them or what went wrong. So, start off with the bench overflow changes. It's funny, I've been playing quite a bit trying to do my chosen list over the break, and I think I had this happen to me twice in all the games I played. But both times it was like, oh, right, I can't do that thing. Cool. And it seemed like it was just generally good for the game, so I'm kind of glad we got this in.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's something that should it's like a long time coming. Something that's like, oh, really cool to see like finally in the game, and no confusion around it or anything. It's a very clear indicator this is not okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, next up was the level 7 changes. We had messed on the big 1024 patch, so we bumped up forecast by 2%. I don't know. This feels about right to me now. Finally, it's like level 7 is still generally a skippable level, but at the same time, if you're like really suffering or really low rolling, it's okay to roll at 7 now, and you can hit some of your forecast chosen or forecast carries. So I don't know. I've been pretty happy with this change.
Yeah, personally, I think this is a great change too. I think not being able to be bailed out by forecast chosen is really nice, but still being able to like hit that necessary forecast if you're having a really hard game just feels a lot better.
Nice. All right, next up was divine damage reduction from 50 to 45. This one seems about right. It seems like Warwick comps are still doing okay, but they've kind of fallen out of favor. They're not like S tier anymore. They're like A tier, which is probably about where it should be. So overall, this seems like positive change.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right, here we go. Spicy one. Elderwood, armor and magic resist got buffed at 3 and 6 piece. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think me and Mort kind of disagreed on this one a little bit, but like we saw Elderwood not being that great, especially like towards later in the game. Like kind of 6 Elderwood was never a choice, and 3 Elderwood early on was never kind of like the opener that you wanted to go for. So I think it was correct to kind of like tackle it in some way, but I think it ended up in hindsight like Elderwood 3 just became such high value, getting that 25 extra armor and MR, especially early on in the game. Combined with our previous changes to Lulu and a Hecarim buff and a Maokai buff here and there, it just kind of made Elderwood 3 really strong early game.
Yeah, see, I kind of still think this was the right call, but with a big asterisk of Lulu. We didn't fix Lulu. We knew over time Lulu was a problem. We knew Lulu in general was kind of a problem. And doing this while also leaving Lulu in the state she was in was a big mistake. I think Lulu being in the state with this and the mage change we're about to talk about next, I think if you fix Lulu, both of those are actually in the correct spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think part of it also is that like we changed Lulu earlier on, and then I think players didn't really catch on to how strong she really is. And then once you see all these Elderwood buffs, you're like, I'm gonna try it, and you put in Lulu, and you're like, wow, yeah. She casts and gives everyone so much health, and it's kind of like more solved now, and that's why it seems so strong.
Yeah, my opinion right now is if you kept these Elderwood numbers the same but nerfed Lulu, you'd be in the right spot, which is why I think this is still the correct change. If you've tried to play Elderwood without Lulu, good luck, right? Like, it's just not going to be a good comp. So that's why I still think this is the right call. But again, the miss here was not touching Lulu, I think.
Yeah, the synergy is just so good.
Yeah. Speaking of which, 6 mage buff. I think this was a slam dunk. Again, minus the Lulu aspect of this year. Seeing 6 mage actually be played, seeing mage or Elderwood Vigar comps both work, this seems like it's been a pretty solid choice. So I'm pretty happy with this one.
Yeah, I think mages now, people are playing 6 mages, and it's great to see. So it's good.
Sweet. All right, Vanguard buff. This accomplished nothing, in my opinion. We buffed Vanguard, and it was like, sweet, Vanguards are buffed, and no one gives a shit, because nobody plays Vanguards, and Vanguards are still terrible. Does that sound about right?
Pretty much. Yonei is a big culprit here, but yeah, pretty much.
I mean, Yonei, magic damage, Lee Sin, yeah. There's too much. And to be honest, I'll be forward. Like, Vanguards are my biggest worry with 4.5 right now, because it doesn't feel like much change there. So I think during the PvE cycle, you might see us take some wild attempts at trying to improve Vanguard. But this was, I think, again, we've been called out in the past for going too far. Like, imagine if we doubled these numbers and Vanguard had become meta. Everyone would have been like, stupid Riot designers, they don't know what they're doing. By doing it this nudge and seeing that nothing changed, now we have the affordance to kind of go further from here. So cool. Diana, we cut 1 orb off. Seems fine. Although, do we really see Diana comps anymore, or are they just gone?
I think part of it is people have caught on to how strong Moonman is, especially with like the bug fix that we'll probably talk about later. Yeah. Just when you see a Moonlight chosen, you kind of just think, oh, I'm going to go with Felios. But to be fair, like Diana has been dominating the set pretty much. Like you see chosen Moonlight Diana, and you pretty much always pick her up and get that free top 4 or go fast 9 and play for first. So, kind of toning her back and maybe like not seeing her for a month, it's not that. It's, I think it's good to give some light to the other Moonlight, or give some time for the other Moonlight chosens.
Yeah, I think that's true. I do think Diana's another victim of the Yonei problem as well, where it's just like any big champion that you overinvest in ends up getting Yonei'd to death. But yeah, I think, would I have made this change? I think we probably shouldn't have made this change, actually, looking at it, just to like open it up. Well, but like you said, giving more light to Moonlight champions like Felios. I don't know, I'm torn. I could have gone either way on this one.
Yeah. I think it was a good change, personally. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many things, like as you mentioned with the Yonei, there's so many things that like take out the one really super like 1v9 kind of unit. There's just Lee Sin, Set, anyone just like one shots.
Oh yeah, Set's another one. Yep. Okay, Fiora Buffs. I think these are good, and I think this is another example where people are sleeping on this, on how good she is early. I've seen a lot of games get carried very well by an early Fiora chosen, Fiora Luden's chosen, just Fiora chosen in general. I think this is an example where if we made the mistake of buffing it again, it would be astronomically insane. But I think Fiora right now is very strong and very underrated.
And she's a chosen mana too, so she's like negating a lot of damage if you position her correctly. She can be really good. I think right now people are kind of like seeing all these like really strong early game champions because there's so many, and then Fiora gets outshined. But I think in reality you're right, like she's really good.
I think the other thing too right now is the meta right now is almost like avoid 1-cost chosens at all costs. It's like get a 2-cost chosen as early as you can, then use that to fast 9 into your 4 and 5-cost chosens. So she is suffering a bit from that. But I think if you take a 1-cost chosen, she's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Lissandra, I don't think we need to go into too deep. To be honest, it's basically the same thing as Diana. It's like, maybe, maybe not. But honestly, it's opened up the meta, so maybe it's okay.
Mm-hmm. She's still pretty good, too, for what it's worth.
Yeah. The Maokai buff. So this is one I know you and I were split on. This is one I snuck in because I was like, look, Maokai is not really working as an early game tank. It certainly fixed that. Like, if you get a Maokai chosen, that's one of the ones people are actually pretty happy with now. But did it go too far? Again, probably with the Lulu and the Elderwood and this. Probably.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of kind of all the buffs, and also just Veigar. Because of those buffs, Veigar's really good, and he just synergizes with Veigar, and so he's like the front line that you want.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, before this patch, I thought he was already a pretty good frontliner. But it kind of makes sense. Like I see the changes, kind of lines up his stats with the other frontline tanks too.
Yeah. To be honest, if I were looking back, I probably would cut the armor change here and just do the MR change. But yeah. All right, Wukong. Another change that changed very little.
Yeah. He's still an okay one cost chosen, but it's like, keyword okay. Didn't change that much, yeah.
One of the highlight games for me over the break was watching when Soju got the early 3-star Wukong.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good game. It showed that Wukong can definitely still do some work early game. But again, right now we're just in a meta where one costs are mostly disregarded, so...
Yeah. I mean, he got the free 3-star Wukong and it carried him so far into the game. Like it's a good unit and it does so much damage, but for the most part, you don't pick it up.
Cool. All right, tier 2, Felios. So we fixed the bug with Felios where his turrets could actually use Hunter, and we nerfed him. To be honest, this to me seemed like the perfect change. I personally think Felios is finally in the spot where he always should have been. He is a strong 2-cost carry chosen. If you can get him 4-starred, he's very strong, which is the entire point of the Moonlight comp. But he's not unbeatable, and he's not unhealthy. Like, he doesn't ramp up infinitely. His item choices are actually pretty flexible. There are ways to beat him. This finally feels like the Felios that was intended to be at launch.
Completely agree. I think the fact that he can use different kinds of items, you can go like different kinds of builds, that is definitely a win, and he's in a good spot. Like if you can't like hard force him every game and you expect to go first, like the way he was in early on in the meta. But right now he seems like to be in a really good spot. Like you can play him and still win, but sometimes you don't.
Yep, cool. Hecarim mana change. I don't know. I'm happy with this one. Hecarim's a little bit more playable, not overpowered, not overbearing. Seems fine to me.
Yeah, agreed. He was just slightly weak, and I think this made him a lot better. So
yep. Jarvan change again. I think Jarvan's now finally balanced. I think he's doing what he's supposed to. He's still good. He still has good backline access. He's just not like deleting units by casting 3 times a game. So seems fine to me.
Yep.
Silas. So this change frustrates me. So I had a game over break where I hit Silas chosen, and I think it's actually today's YouTube video. And I purposely itemized Silas, not Felios. Because that was the point of these changes, right? Was to make it worth itemizing Silas as your 4-star. It didn't really do that. It didn't really fix that. He's still not a very good 4-star unit. You'd still almost always rather go with Felios. So while these changes were fine, I don't think it accomplished what we were trying to accomplish.
No, yeah, I honestly have been trying it too, because we talked about this and we kind of like brainstormed around what we could play around, and you're like Bramble, Declaw, damage or something like that. And I did Bramble, Declaw, Gunblade, and I've been trying it on my Smurf, and it's like okay, like it wins some fights, but it's not the 4-star like Felios, for example.
It gets CC'd too much. It doesn't do enough damage. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
and I think just like the straight line, it's so positioning reliant. Like if they move one unit, then you only hit one unit. You don't heal enough from the Gunblade, and he just can't keep himself up.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Yeah. I think I wonder if that's one of those champions that would have been better if it like had a base damage that was split amongst the number of targets hit.
Kind of like Yonei, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Vi change. I think this was fine. It accomplished our goal of making armor and magic resist reductions within certain tiers without ruining the power of Vi. I think Vi actually feels a little better, just like microscopically better. So this to me seems like a fine change.
Yeah. Vi chosen is insane in the mid game if you have it.
Yeah.
But AP on her, she's such a good item holder, and so AP Vi is slightly more fun now. So
it really is. Like, yeah, you get an early, like, she's a good item carrier for like Kane, like you're saying. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Evelyn, I actually think this was a change that looked complicated on paper, but did exactly what we needed it to, which was 1-star Evelyn's a little weaker, but still good, and 2-star Evelyn is just as good as she was before, if not a little better. Like, it seemed like it did its job.
Yeah, this was a great change. Evelyn doesn't feel significantly different, but it was a slight change that we needed to get her back in line where she wasn't overpowered at 1-star.
Yep. Okay, Kalista, this was your baby. This was credit to you. You're the one who made the bug fix here, and we did the nerf. I'll be honest. I'm glad we did this, and it's something we're going to deal with for for 4.5 because Kalista's not going anywhere. But nobody's playing Kalista. I think I've seen 2 Kalistas, and they were both 3-starred, and they both got like 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, I've been trying this because I know how I tested this a lot, and I know how strong it is with a combination of these damage boost items. And with Divine, she's like melting people, but I think she suffers from a different issue that's not related to attack speed, and I think it's just survivability. Her 550 or 500 base health is just so low that something tickles her and she's dead even at 3 stars.
Yeah, she certainly gets wrecked by all the Teemos running around. That's true.
Yeah, and I think also just we nerfed Cultist last patch, and so it's less popular now, and so nobody really is going Kalista in the mid game because no one's really playing 6 Cultists anymore.
The times I've seen her work, it's in Duelist. It's like you run 6 Duelist with the Kalista. But the thing that she also seems to struggle with is just, we talked about this before, is like for a late game carry to be really good, you either have to have like insane damage, like a Vigar, or you have to be AoE. And she's not really either. She's too slow for a late game carry.
Yeah. There's like a world where, you have a lot of frontline and she has enough time to pop off and really just like ramp up her, Duelist, and then just kill everything one by one. But it's kind of difficult to get there in this meta.
I think that's a state of our weak frontline right now. Again, like no Vanguards, no Mystics really. Weak frontline. So maybe if frontlines get buffed up, she can shine again.
Yeah.
All right, Lux Chosen. Players asked for it. We gave it to them. Seems solid.
Yeah, seems good. People have been asking for this. There's arguments kind of on both sides. Challenger players were like, well, she casts more, so it's already better to be a mana chosen. But, I think ultimately, we watched it, and this was the change that needed to happen. And yeah it's working out.
It also feels nickel and dime-ish just because it's like, is anyone really excited to run Lux carry? No. Regardless of this change, no.
Yeah. We haven't really seen that.
Yeah, it's like, if you happen to get this for your Warwick comp, you're a little bit better off. Yay, right. I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Xinjiao. We buffed him up, and now he's the carry that everyone runs and is highly... Oh, wait, nope. Still trash. Still no one plays him.
Yeah, Shin suffers from the melee carry, cursed problem where, he has no mobility and he doesn't work with RC, so now he's there are times when he just gets stuck.
And again, we keep talking about this, but the frontline problem, the fact that everything can get through frontline, there's no such thing as a tanky unit right now. Xinjiao is incorporates that to a T, so even if you do get that 3-star Xinjiao, what happens? He gets Yonei, Lee Sin set kicked away, and you still lose the game, so...
Yep.
I think in a different meta and a different set, this champion could actually be good, if not overpowered. But with this set, I don't think it's ever going to happen. So,
yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I'm when he pops off, it's so much fun, it's insane, and he just 1v9s everyone. But right now, 1v9 carries are not the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of need multi-threat teams right now, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, Yumi. This is a buff that I think most people looked on paper and went, what? You're buffing Yumi? That's insane. She's so good. But all of our data was she's so bad. So I think we did the bare minimum here. I think it hasn't changed much, and I think this is a safe change I'd probably do again.
Yeah. I don't think anybody really noticed this. It was kind of, you see it, you're like, why are they doing this? And then, you don't really feel the change, but it's a small nudge for her survivability.
Yep. Okay, tier 4, Talon. Health up and damage up. I think this was a good change. I personally believe that Talon is actually strong, but it's very difficult comp to run right now. And Teemos and Lulus make that very hard. So it's, again, kind of not his meta. But I don't think we should be buffing this champion more at this point.
I agree. I know we haven't really been seeing him that much this patch, but there are some people who run assassins. But yeah, he's not very strong right now despite these buffs. These are pretty hefty buffs too. But I think like you said, it's just the meta is not favoring him right now.
Yeah.
And yep.
Yeah, like I said, assassins right now are struggling because of all the Lulus. He struggles because of Teemo. Yeah. But again, like, I'd hesitate to buff him anymore because he could do some crazy things. And we've seen in our 4.5 playtests that he can get pretty nutty with new 6 Enlightened. So I think touching him anymore would be incorrect, but I think this was a good change.
Yeah, I was going to say 4.5 is going to be like... we're changing Enlightened slightly in 4.5, and it's going to make him... We've seen him, like, pop off, and so...
Yeah.
He's just kind of waiting.
Warwick Lifesteal nerf. So... This one, I think, was correct, but I think doing this and the Divine might have been too much. Maybe not, though. I mean, Warwick's still a good A-tier comp. But now it actually feels like you can burst down the Warwick, and he's not always, like, healing to full health instantly, so...
Yeah. This was your suggestion for a change. I think it was a really good one, because I think that part of it was just, he's so unkillable. Once you get to a certain point, and he has Rena's Hurricane, he's just healing to full with every auto, and it just... you feel helpless, but this change kind of makes it feel more possible. If you position correctly, put that Kindred in front of him, you can actually kill him this time.
Yeah, you get like Kindreds, Jins, even Ashes can burst him down with enough crits. So
yeah.
Okay, Kane. Kane, we did a slight nerf. I think this was a win. I think this was the right way to do a nerf. Kane's still a good champion. He's just a little bit more balanced. Cool.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yep.
Cool. Set bugs. I think this was actually a miss on messaging. Like, obviously we should be fixing bugs. That's not a miss. But I think when we put this in the notes, people would then see other set bugs. And they'd be like, what? I thought you fixed the set bugs. And it's like, well, no, we fixed this one specific bug, but we didn't fix these other 3 yet.
Yeah. Yeah. This was something that I felt, I think fixing this bug was really good for the game, and it took out some scenarios where he would fail, but yeah, there were still like 3 others which are coming to be fixed. So it's just messaging thing that people didn't expect. They expected it to be 100%, and we weren't there yet.
Yeah. Last Whisper, 75 to 80 to keep it in line with our new tiering. Seems fine. I don't see a bunch of people like running to run Last Whisper, but at the same time, that's because tanks are terrible right now. So in the world where tanks are good, will this be a problem? Maybe, but I don't think so. So
yeah. It's just small buff, and we're actually seeing a little bit of Last Whisper now in these Elderwood lobbies. So it's that's good.
That's good. Cool. And then bug fix. Now the good news is we didn't have to patch anything. So again, we've gone like 3 or 4 weeks without touching stuff. But again, things that are missing here. Yonei, we talked about there's a bug with Yonei where even though the tooltip says 60%, it's actually 80% still. Which is kind of funny, by the way, that players were like, oh my god, it's overpowered. Then we changed the tooltip, but not the character. And people were like, oh, it's way better now. Actually, turns out we didn't change a damn thing. Oops.
Yeah. It's the placebo effect. So it goes to show, it's perception can work.
League of Legends had this for a long time. They've seen win rates change without changing a thing, but they like accidentally typed a patch note. So, but yeah, Yonei right now is one of the worst things in the meta. I think that we didn't hit. He just shuts down so many things by existing. And to be honest, late game comps that get like a blue buff Yonei, and that's almost about it. Yeah. He kind of just wins games by himself.
Blue buff Yonei is one of the biggest like headaches because he's just such a strong and reliable carry because he shreds and it's the shred for the rest of the match, and then he just goes on to blue buff one shot everything.
And he drops aggro. So it's like as soon as he gets that first cast, which he's almost guaranteed to do with that Exile Shield, from there he's free to kill 2, 3, 4 people. So no matter how strong they are.
Yeah. Yonei is something we're thinking about, and we're definitely going to address him. Or not, we're thinking about him and going to make some changes so that hopefully he's less problematic.
Then we talked about Lulu. Teemo's been the other one that's kind of come up as like a really big, strong early game carry. You get to run a 2 sharpshooter, 4 sharpshooter Teemo. Especially because Teemo does splash AoE when he hits. So it's like he hits the front line, AoEs everything that's grouped up there. Then that shot heads to the back line, hits the back line, and AoE hits everything back there. So even with 2 sharpshooter, you can sometimes hit 4, 5, 6 people. That's pretty nutty.
Yeah, and we've seen like with the right damage items, he's CCing somebody to death basically.
Yep. Is there anything else you've seen kind of over the top that we kind of like from this long meta that we didn't really hit right?
I think we've seen like in this patch, we've seen Kindred dominate really hard. I think Kindred's a really great 3-cost carry. I think just slightly overtuned maybe because a 1-star Kindred early on is just the best carry you can have, I think.
Yeah. And I think the other one that has shocked people is the 6 Dusk with Jhin, especially if you can do Dusk Jhin, where it's like you can have a pretty weak board and then still win games. I know both Soju and Solus were sharing screenshots of like boards that looked very weak but somehow were winning.
Yeah. The Dusk comp with 1-star, 1-star Jhin with good items is a winning lobby is kind of scary.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to 4.5 with so many of the carries rotating out that it'll be a very different game. So,
yeah, it'll feel fresh.
All right, any closing thoughts for you? Because after this, we have patch 11.1 going live on Wednesday, January 5th, and then that'll be it for set 4 before set 4.5. So, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I think the last patch will be hopefully again more like balance, and it's gonna be a pretty small patch, and then 4.5 something to look forward to.
I actually, one last question for you, because again, this was the longest patch we've ever had, 4 weeks not touching the game. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the game, so I think our having such like a long patch cadence just leads to players solving the game, especially during like this winter break when everyone's playing extra, like everyone's playing a lot, and so like the game gets solved. Everyone knows like what I should be playing here, when I should be rolling. It gets to a point where we don't see as much variance. This patch started off with great, so much variance, and then towards the end it started like getting a little bit more stale. And so 2-week patch cadences feel a lot better.
I will say, for any patch to have to be this 4-week patch, I'm glad it was this one, because like the game's still fun. I'm still winning with a lot of various things, but like definitely bring back my 2-week patches, please.
No, I completely agree though. This was a good patch to have for a month because it took longer. I mean, there were just so many things that are still viable. Like even though we all know what's the best, you can still kind of play anything. And having so many A and S tier comps, this patch has been
it's been good. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, that's going to do it for the patch rundown. If you enjoy these, let us know. We'll keep doing it. If not, we won't, because it's time and we like time. So, all right. On behalf of everyone on the TFT team, it's going to do it for now. Take it easy.